Hi, in this session we're going to focus on one aspect of your writing related skills that are being tested, which is on expression of ideas. And we know that under expression of ideas there are two skills broadly that are tested, one being rhetorical synthesis questions and the second being the transitions part. But as far as this session is concerned, we are going to focus primarily on rhetorical synthesis questions. We'll take a look at what is being presented to us, how is it being presented to us, what is the task that is involved, and what kind of strategies do we employ to be able to get these kinds of questions correct. All right. So like I said, these are writing related aspects of expression of ideas. Rhetorical synthesis is the sub-skill that's being tested. So what exactly are you given? So what you're given is a context with bulleted notes on a topic. That's what you're given. So what you'll be given is an introductory sentence, an intro sentence that will introduce you to the notes or the bulleted points. All right, usually you will find about 5 to 6 bulleted points that are given, and there's some kind of an introductory sentence that opens up you to what this discussion is all about. And then there is a specific task that you need to accomplish. So what do you need to do? You need to use information in the text to answer a specific task mentioned in the question. Now, here's a point to note. What I've written on the screen here is you need to answer a specific task mentioned in the question. Now, will you be able to sort of shortlist and give us a list of the tasks that these questions will test you? That's probably one of the questions that you must be having on your mind. My answer would be no. The task could be anything. It all depends on the kind of context that is given to you and what exactly needs to be accomplished. All right, so there is a task, there is a goal to be achieved. That goal can be anything. That goal can be something like summarize these bullet points, making sure that the essence is not lost. Or it can simply say which of these answer choices highlights the key point, the key aspect of these bulleted notes. It could be anything. All right, so it's very difficult to say what are the different types of tasks that the SAT will test you on. But what you need to just understand is you need to pay attention to what is being asked of you. Always have a lot of focus on what exactly is being asked of you. This is very, very important primarily because once you have a question stem, this is important because once you have a question stem and then there are 4 answer choices given to you, in all likelihood, all 4 answer choices could make complete sense, which means that whatever you have read in the context may very well match with your answer options. But not all 4 can be correct. There's only one correct answer. Which would that correct answer be? That's where the focus of what is being asked of matters a lot. You need to pay very close attention, especially in rhetorical synthesis questions, very close attention to the question stem. You will only then will you be able to shortlist and pinpoint on one particular answer choice that actually addresses that particular task that is mentioned in the question stem. All the others may be correct, but they're probably answering other questions, other tasks. They're not answering that specific task. So be a little careful when you answer these kinds of questions. So here's an example of how such a question would look like. So you're given an introductory sentence, something that opens you to the entire context. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Gestation in mammals seems to be the topic of discussion. So there are 5 bulleted points given here. We're not trying to solve this question right now. The next session on worked examples will focus on how we actually implement the strategy we're going to learn in a short while from now. How we're going to implement the strategy into tackling these kinds of questions and answering them, making sure we're getting them correct. All right, but this is only just to show you what these questions look like. So 5 bullet points. All right, so this seems to be on gestation in mammals. So then you're talking about the length of gestation varies from species to species, and also the breeding seasons of these species are restricted. Then you're looking at an example of the horse, an example of the sheep, and then during a particular season, spring, things like that. So these are the notes that the students seem to have made as such. Now look at your question stem. The student wants to correlate the gestation with the season in which the birth takes place. So we know that just by giving a quick glance through these bulleted points, in one of the bulleted points we clearly have a mention of a specific season. When we actually read the other bullet points also carefully, we probably will have more information on the other seasons too. One or two other seasons maybe. We don't know that. All right. So the student wants to correlate the gestation with the season in which the birth takes place. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? So you need to find a relation between gestation and the season in which the birth takes place. The answer choice that correctly addresses this aspect and accurately describes it is your correct answer. The other choices may still be correct, but they probably are not apt to this particular question stem. All right. Now, what are the strategies that you need to follow, that you need to keep in mind to be able to tackle these questions? All right, I've put down 4 points on your screen here. Let's go through one by one and understand these in greater detail. First and foremost, pay attention to the task asked in the question stem or the prompt. This is what I've been reiterating forever. This is probably the most important of all aspects of all strategies in answering rhetorical synthesis questions. What is being asked of you? Just like what we saw in the example, what is being asked of you is which answer choice best correlates gestation with the season in which the birth takes place. That's about it. Any answer choice that just talks about the season, any answer choice that talks about the examples of these animals that we came across, right, the horse and things like that, any answer choice that talks about only about gestation are absolutely incorrect. They are correct in a different universe, which means that they are correct when the question stem is different, when the task is different. So always pay attention to the task. Second strategy you have to keep in mind. Do not look for grammatical errors in these questions. Why is this a critical factor? Remember that rhetorical synthesis questions are a subset of the writing related skill. In R&W, reading and writing module, these are under the writing related aspects, right? These come under the expression of ideas. Rhetorical synthesis questions are expression of ideas. The other testing area under the writing related skill is standard English conventions. You have to understand the difference between these two. Standard English conventions will strictly test you on grammar, your ability to be able to identify what is the correct grammatical presentation given a context. Unlike expression of ideas, where you are trying to express an idea or a group of ideas in the best possible way, making sure that you are addressing the task at hand. Which means that do not get confused between the standard English conventions kind of questions, which will very strictly focus on pure grammar or punctuation. All right. So do not waste your time trying to look for grammatical errors in these questions. Third point. Check whether an answer choice addresses the task. So an answer choice, remember, is incorrect when it is completely incorrect, when it is just really not talking about the context at all. Or sometimes an answer choice can be incorrect when it is actually correct in a different context. It is correct for a different task at hand. No amount of emphasis here is sufficient because students tend to go wrong in answering rhetorical synthesis questions, primarily because they tend to overlook this aspect. First strategy, pay attention to the task at hand. Make sure that an answer choice is addressing the task. An answer choice may seem correct, and SAT knows how students make mistakes, and they will include those kinds of answer choices as traps. Don't fall for them. You need to be able to also get into the shoes of the exam maker and figure out how they create these incorrect answer choices. They know that you've read the context, they know that you've read the bulleted notes, they know you've understood those bulleted notes. They will include an answer choice that matches with your understanding of some of those bulleted notes. All right? That understanding, there's nothing wrong with that understanding. But what you have to always check for is it addressing the question or no? It is correct in a different universe. But if it is not addressing the question, it means that it is definitely incorrect. Bear this in mind. Then, importantly, watch out. A few of the bulleted points may not be needed at all to answer certain types of questions, because what you're being given is information. Information, information, information. But ultimately, your task could be something else which may not require that you use all the information, which means you're probably presented with information overload. Do you have the ability in you to be able to filter out what information is essential for you, what information is really not useful in answering the question? So very important aspect. Keep this in mind. An answer choice may contain information that matches with the information in a few of the bulleted points. That's what I was talking about here. But always ask yourself, is this addressing the task in the question? All right. So if you are able to implement these strategies to the dot, there is no reason you will find any difficulty in tackling rhetorical synthesis questions at all. We will end this session on this note. In the following session on rhetorical synthesis, where we actually implement these strategies into solving some questions. All right. Pay attention when we do that. That will be a huge benefit for you.